Cool. Let's keep going. All right. So what kinds of things stop us from being real communities? Let's talk about this for a minute. My favorite. You can do anything here. This is like the embodied version. We say we have an embodied faith. This is the embodied version of you can believe anything here. Okay? In other words, now truly, you can't believe anything. You know that. If we wanted an exercise, I would have you all stand up as if you believed there was no gravity. You can't do it. You can't believe there's no gravity. You can pretend you can't believe there's no gravity. Everything about you knows there's gravity. Everything about you knows some things based in the real world of physics that you've grown up in. And just while you were doing your faith development and you were doing all this other development, Piaget said you were actually learning how the physical world worked. So when you sit something down and walk away, you expect it to be there when you come back. Right? Out of sight, out of mind stage ends at about 2. Terrible 2s. So the idea that you can do anything here. Why do we allow folks to do anything and hold that up as a right? We'll talk more about this later. Okay? But another barrier is that we have communities that don't have enough people who have the competencies required to build a community. Okay? First, people who are competent in more than one culture. Who here is competent in more than one culture? And we're leaders. You see what I'm saying? It's a small group. We could all be. We could choose. You can choose whatever culture you want to be competent in. Now, some of us don't have a choice. Okay? Tell us about it, Betty.
You cannot exist without straddling those worlds. You can't have a job and then you can't get along with the folks on the block. That's right.
So people from historically marginalized communities have to understand more than one culture. Have to understand more than one culture. I know how straight people behave whether I want to or not. Call it a skill. Right? Okay. I bet more of you are competent in more than one culture than just thought so a minute ago. Let's do that again. How many of you are competent in more than one culture? More hands. Ah, see? Okay. So, you now have a small portfolio that you can choose to extend. You can become competent in other theological cultures. You can become competent in other racial and ethnic cultures. You can become competent in other affectional orientation cultures. You can learn another language. You can do a whole lot of things to widen the imagination. Why is it important in a community that you have people who can speak more than one culture? To facilitate conversation, to build bridges. Otherwise, we could do this on Sunday morning. It would be really easy. It's cool. Okay? All right, I'd like the theists down here in the front. And then, let me see. Okay, but some of you are explicitly Christian. Sit towards the back of that group. Anybody who really likes hearing stories only out of the Old Testament, would you stay over here? We could just split ourselves up. And then we could not talk to each other. And we wouldn't have one community, of course. We would have a bunch of little silos. We can actually do that without the map, can't we? And we do it without the map. We hang out with the folks who make us comfortable. But in the last part, I think I told you that the point of church wasn't to be comfortable. Let me tell you another thing is true. The point of church is not to make you happy.
Yes.
Yes. Well, now that we've heard from the clergy. So spontaneous, weren't they? Weren't they wonderful? Right? I bet the religious educators too, they were all over that. Yes, they are. Let's go back for just a moment in faith development. This all makes sense together if you think about it. Let's go back to faith development. Remember how old you were supposed to be when you thought the world was fair and it was there to make you happy? How old were you supposed to be then? Elementary school, 8 years old. If we want a church for adults, we better get over the idea that the point of church is to make us happy. The point of church is to
grow us up.
Grow us up. Or out. Or sideways. Or in some direction. It's to grow us. It's to grow us in. But it's to grow us. Okay, next, we need people who can listen and reflect. We have lots of people, I meet them at GA every year, who have one mode. I watch them at the microphone. They're down there and they're getting ready to talk. And they are like right there. And there's 20 people ahead of them, but they're not going to listen to any of those people because they already know what they're going to say. And all of us can do that too. Have you ever so desperately been planning the next thing to say in an important conversation that you didn't hear what the other person was saying at all? But there are some people that that's their main mode. And we need to help people listen better. Because those folks in our congregations are often, they make us uncomfortable. Imagine their whole lives. That's the way church helps people grow too. And then we need people who know how to negotiate, who know how to mediate, who know how to say, is it possible that they didn't mean what you heard them say? Go ask them. Point people who turn people towards the thing they're afraid of or angry at and shove. Another barrier to community is this contractive sense of community. It's little and it's precious and we're going to keep it that way.